Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here by Rob. He's having a little trouble with a turkey leg right now, so he'll be on just shortly there. He's just at a family function trying to find a spot to pop in and say hi and go over the game with us here. So let's get right into it, guys, because this is, I feel like I repeat this message every week, but another embarrassing loss. We lose to the Carolina Panthers, who are, perhaps the worst team in the league besides us at this point. We go ahead and then lose to the Tampa Bay Bucks in a very embarrassing fashion. I mean, basically a very average team beats us 30-7. And now we lose to the Cowboys, who literally lost 5 of the last 6 games. A team that literally is missing a starting quarterback, missing so many stars on their defense and everything. We still can't even beat them. That's how bad it is. This is a new level of patheticness that this New York Football Giants team has gotten to. It's just absolutely pathetic, sad, demeaning, embarrassing. Any of the thesaurus words you want to use for that. It's just it's gotten really bad, guys. So, I feel like week in, week out, we do these post-game shows, and we just talk about how embarrassed we are. Be honest, we've already said it all. So, at this point here, it's just time to say officially what we've been saying is probably needs to be done at the end of the season. But maybe it just needs to be done now. Maybe it is time for Dable to go. To just ride off into the sunset here. He starts off 9-7-1-22, goes down to 6-11 last year. Now 2-10 on this season. I mean, we're going backwards, guys. We're going backwards. And that's not the sign of a good coach. Last year we gave him kind of a pass because of all the injuries. There was a joke about Justin Pugh coming off the couch and playing, which he basically did. But that's because of all the injuries we had. The injuries aren't as aren't as big this year. Kayvon was out for a little bit. Azeez already went into a spot. Azeez is not out, but Kayvon's now back. Andrew Thomas has been out, obviously, for a while. We had this game now with no Tommy DeVito, but to be honest, he's not exactly the next Tom Brady. This team has been taking steps back. And it's time to, I wouldn't say necessarily right the ship, but it's time to admit the problems, start looking at the problems and going, what can we fix now? So we can kind of get a head start and rebuild this for next year. And I really think that first step is Dable's got to go. You're an offensive-minded coach. And we have literally the worst offense in the entire league. The entire league, guys. That's bad. We can't score anybody. We had the fewest touchdowns in the entire league. And if you look at the numbers, we get to the red zone. We just can't score touchdowns. This is a team that is absolutely pathetically inept at offense. When we have a coach that was supposed to be a quarterback whisperer and an offensive guru. And to me, a lot of the offensive problems stem from after that Cardinal game last year. Remember that second half that all of a sudden had the most amazing offense you've ever seen in the Giants, in the Giants in the last 10 years. And we came back and won and beat the Cardinals. I think that got Dable's head too big, honestly. Then it became, I'm calling the plays and taking the play calling back, that I'm not, that I am, that I am not, that I am. Then it became, he took it over full-time this year. And guys, the play calling's not been good. Flat out has not been good. The offensive players don't play well. The plays themselves aren't well called. There's times there's definitely head scratchers in every single game where you're like, what the hell? Why would you call that play there? And we got talent. We got the best rookie wide receiver. We got the best rookie running back in this league. You got offensive line that obviously Andrew Thomas is hurt, and that left tackle position is a big issue right now. But there is some talent there. Jermaine Illuminor obviously is also out right now, but he was healthy for most of the season. John Runyon's a good pass blocker, though obviously a very poor run blocker typically. Greg Van Roten's been playing better. JMS, his second year, has definitely improved. He's not great, don't get me wrong, but he's definitely improved for what he was last year. Theo Johnson's shown you flashes at times. Definitely had an issue with the drops, as most of the teams have, but he's been good flashes. Wandale's been a guy that's been that short yardage, receiver that just keeps getting catch after catch after catch. Darius Slayton is Darius Slayton. He's a 700-yard guy every single year in, year out. There's talent on this team, guys. We can't get it done. So it's either one of two things: play calling or execution. And both of those things land square firmly on the head coach. It is time to make a move. And we talked about it last week as a potential. And if we fire Dable, this would be a good option. In my mind, we should fire Dable and give the interim head coaching job to Mike Kafka. Let him take on the reins. The offense was better when he was coaching, when he was play calling it back in 22. That was a different offensive scheme. There's a lot more screens, a lot of more, effective routes being run. It was a smoother offense overall. Granted, we also had Saquon Barkley we don't have now, but Tyrone Tracy's been good. I just, to me, it's just how many weeks do you watch this and go, wait a minute here, what's going on? And next year, guys, we're going to have probably a rookie quarterback. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the games here, but as of right now, we're going to have a top pick where we're probably going to go get a quarterback in that first round. And I look at this and go, do you really want to put a guy who's a lame duck coach and a lame duck GM, even with Shane, and let these guys pick a quarterback? One of the keys to success with a quarterback is stability. You're not going to give this kid stability if you're getting rid of Dable and getting rid of Shane after next year. It's time to make these moves, guys. It's time to start changing things up. And I know John Mara doesn't want to be the guy to go ahead and change coaches every other year. Sometimes you got to make the move to get the right guy. I get that you want to give it time to develop, but look what it's developing into: 9-7-1, down to 6-11, down to 2-10 now. Like this is a limbo game, and how low can you go is not a good game to play with records, guys. It's time to make the change. It is time to get a new head coach in there. And maybe that fires them up for the rest of the year. Maybe we see a little bit of different offense in this on this roster the rest of the way. And I know some of you are all going to be worried. I don't want to win because let's be honest, there's plenty of Giants fans that want to tank, and I got to be honest with you guys, I hate the idea of it. But at this point, what else is there to do this season? And listen, we're going to tank whether we want to or not at this point too. We're just tanking by futility here. But we got 5 games left. Of those 5 games, you got the Saints. That should be, a little more of a toss-up game there, but the Saints are a better team than the Giants. Every team is. You got the Ravens, who should crush us. The Falcons, who should crush us. The Colts, who are a better team than us. And the Eagles, that could crush us. We could very easily go 2-15, guys. I'm not worried about winning meaningless games because I don't think there's a shot in hell of it happening. What I just want is to not be embarrassed. Not be the laughing stock of the NFL, to have a little more positivity at this point, to not ruin some of these great young rookies we have at that point. It happens. It happens on bad teams that are bad for too long. So it's time to make the move. Absolutely time to make the move. As Derek says, go get Belichick. Again, I've said before, I'll say it again. I like Belichick, respect Belichick. I think that it's time for Belichick to be in a role like Tom Coughlin had with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was I believe the vice president of football operations was the official title he had. And let Belichick be the guy to pick the next people. Let him have that kind of role. I know he wants Don Shula's record as a head coach. I don't want him as a coach. I don't want him as a GM. But I like him in a front office role where he's setting the tone. He's picking the guys who are going to go ahead and be the coach and GM. Because let's be honest, guys, we can't do it. How many coaches and GMs have we got now? We can't do it. Let someone else do it. Get some fresh eyes. Get a fresh perspective. It's got to be done. And I would like in that scenario, like we said it last week too, I like have Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is your head coach. Bill Belichick is your football operations guy. Maybe Brandon Brown gets a promotion to GM. I don't know. I want Belichick to make the move, though. He's the guy that has the football IQ to make that decision. I think some of the scouting and some of that stuff's kind of passed them by a little bit based on the last couple of drafts they had for the Patriots. But he's still a sound football mind. And he's a great resource to have in that front office. That's for damn sure. Deb says, Mara was for keeping DJ, said Giants set him up to lose. Brady today mentioned how it sets a team back to pay a lot of money to the wrong player. That's a big part of it. It is and it isn't, though, at the same point. It's not the money that we gave to DJ. It was the lack of secondary option in my eyes. We needed to have somebody else to be able to be a fallback, a parachute, so to speak, a cushion if we fall. We didn't have that the entire time. And that's the problem. That's what we need. And Neymar says, fire Joe Shane and Brian Dable. I'm all for it. Deb says, I have a sinking feeling that Mara is not going to make the changes needed. I don't disagree with you. I think he's actually loyal to a fault. And that's one of the issues he has. And I like loyalty in people. I think it's an honorable trait. But it gets to a point. It gets to the point where you're just done. Neymar says, Mike Vrabel, we need to stop stopping like the Jets did. I don't understand that, but let me know what you mean by that. And John says, we suck again. We gave them a TD. Drew, no lock. LOL. Yeah. And let's get into Drew Lock, because that was one of the big topics, obviously, coming into this, was Drew Lock being the quarterback because Tommy DeVito was hurt. A lot of people thought this might be a gotcha game for him, so to speak. Like, hey, gotcha, I'm good after all kind of thing, because the Giants clearly had him as the backup quarterback the whole season. DeVito was the third quarterback, the emergency quarterback. But when it came down to make a change, Tommy DeVito got the job, not Drew Lock. And by all accounts, Drew Lock was beaten out by DeVito in practices and looked better. So it wasn't the wrong move to make. And guys, I think you saw today that Drew Lock is just not a good quarterback. But I'm almost at the point now where I'm like, I don't know if any quarterback can succeed what we're doing right now. There's just something rotten in Denmark here, guys. But 21 of 32, 178 yards. An interception, and not just an interception that was returned for a touchdown. That's when we lose by 7 points, guys. That's a big part of this. Is not only do we have a quarterback that couldn't get anything going, but he gave the team 7 points by throwing the ball. And a very bad pass. It was a screen pass intended for Devin Singletary off to the left-hand side. He had guys, right in between him and Singletary, and he threw it anyway. And it was just a really, really bad play at that point to do. It was DeMarvin Overshone, who's the guy who got that, and you saw the second he got it, it was going to be the house. There was no doubt. Really, really bad play. And I hate to say it, one play has a difference in a game, but, Rob and I talked about it in the pregame. We said one team is going to make a really good move, and that would be the difference. This was that really good move. Was getting that touchdown and returning it for a touchdown. And that was literally the difference in the game. We lost by 7 points. And it was a game where nobody seemed to want to win. Nobody wanted to do anything. But that was the one big play that really made a difference there. If you want to split hairs, there was the fumble into the end zone too, so the Giants got one back. But that was a massive play. And once that happened, we were done. You could tell the momentum was on the Cowboys side. The Giants didn't have any more fight left in them whatsoever. It was just done. And unfortunately, like I said, once you get momentum gone, it's hard to get it back. It really is. So, you know, and now I have another issue to deal with, guys, too. Because Dexter Lawrence and Raheem Nunez-Roches both left this game. Dexter Lawrence with an elbow injury, Nunez-Roches with a stinger. So we don't know what's going to happen with them. And I don't know about you all, but I'm tired of not being able to stop running backs. I'm absolutely tired of not being able to stop running backs. Rico Dowdle, 21 carries, 112 yards, a 5.1 yards per carry average, and a touchdown. He literally had 488 yards in this season, guys, coming in this game. And it wasn't like a Tyrone Tracy thing where he started midway through the season. Like, he's been a guy who's been the starter basically since day one. It's absolutely goddamn ridiculous. Like, that's embarrassing. You literally almost added, almost a complete yard per carry onto his average. And he just kept on running the ball. We couldn't stop him. Could not stop him. This has been a big issue. And Rob and I talked about this leading up to the season. We said, well, for some reason, ignoring the defensive line. And everybody talked about the concerns in the secondary. It's a young secondary. You're counting on young people. You're counting on, a couple of rookies. You're counting on a second-year guy to be your CB1. And it's all accurate. Like, those were genuine concerns. But we were calling it from the get-go, saying, what about this defensive line? Because this defensive line has been really bad. And we knew it and we saw it coming. Dexter Lawrence is an absolute stud. That goes without saying. But if you go past him, Nacho's been a disappointment. I like the guy. Like I said on the show before, I've met the guy. He's a really nice guy. Like, I've gotten to hang out like for a little bit, talk to him. Like, he's a nice guy. You want to root for the guy. And I want to root for everybody who's a Giant. Let's be clear on that too. But he's just not working out here for whatever reason. And then you got guys like DJ Davidson who also got hurt. It's just, Armand Watts is now in the IR. We didn't sign him until a couple weeks ago. This defensive line is such a massive flaw. And it's such a disappointment and patheticness to have when you have literally the best nose tackle in all of football as part of that. And it's still probably one of the worst defensive lines because of that. I'm taking out the edge rushers, by the way. So I know some people like to count, Burns and Thibodeau in that. I'm talking pure defensive line of the 3-4. The 3, not the 4. It's just a really, really bad situation, guys. And the fact that we didn't have that figured out going into the season, when Rob and I could see it, is horrible. We ignored it. And this is what we've done for a while. We've ignored issues. And I'm just tired of seeing that. I mean, now we have such a major issue, it's not even funny. Because let's say hypothetically, if Dexy can't play next week, Nunez-Roches can't play next week, DJ Davidson can't play. You already got Armand Watts on the IR. You already got Timmy Horn in the IR. It's an issue. And as Dorothy says, dislocated elbow. Yeah, like I said, it's an elbow. I mean, we'll see, because they're still I'm sure they're still doing some of the testing on it there because the game just ended. But even dislocated elbow, who knows what's going to happen? Is he going to miss a game? Is he going to be, usually on an IR trip, but, luckily it's a long week. But this is just such an obvious need. And for whatever reason, it just got ignored. And it's been something that has been causing issues for us the entire season. So, as Deb said also, did Banks play? I did not see him. No, Deontay Banks was inactive this week here. So that's with his rib injury. So he did not play. So, got one more question for you guys. Is it just me? Or was this the most boring Thanksgiving game you've ever watched? And I'll say point blank as a Giant fan, this is one of the most boring games I've ever watched in my life. It felt like a preseason game. You got backup quarterback versus backup / third string, depending on how we look at it. You got all like the defensive stars at that point out basically for the Cowboys. You got Dexter Lawrence out for half the game. You got Deontay Banks out. You got so many people out in this game. It's not even funny. It's like JV squad versus JV squad. It's almost like they needed to flex this game out. I know they can't because the Cowboys have to be every Thanksgiving. They have to be on. But this is a game that just screams why it shouldn't be given to a team. This was a national stage, and it was the most boring thing you'll ever watch, basically. I'll say it point blank as a Giant fan. I love football. Love football. That was not good football. That was sloppy. That was, lacked a lot of quality players in it. That was penalties galore. There was, the bad interception by Drew Lock. There was the bad fumble at that point there as well. I mean, boring as hell to watch. And that's something the NFL is going to look at and go, wait a minute. How do we fix this going forward? And they should. And it's not the first time. Let's be honest. The Lions play every Thanksgiving too as well. And the Lions were a bad franchise leading up to, just before last year for, the last 30, 40 years, it felt like. They had good players. You had the Barry Sanders, the Calvin Johnsons and all that. But they never really a great team. They'd be like a team that get in the playoffs and lose in the first round because it took them forever to win a playoff game. But the NFL really needs to look at that. I really do think that's something they should look at. Changing up how they do Thanksgiving. Because that's, again, a national game. If you're going to flex out games during the week because you don't want a bad matchup on Sunday Night Football, you should also be able to flex out on Thanksgiving. Most people, I guarantee, in the country did not want to see that. Did not want to see that whatsoever. So, all righty, guys. Any questions, comments you got, feel free to go ahead and put it into the chat here. I'm going to go ahead and pay the bills real quick here, and then we'll go back to the questions here. Because like I said, guys, there's not much to talk about, to be honest. This is like another shit show. That's what this is. And that's what it's been the last couple weeks. I don't want to keep harping on the same things week in, week out. We know what the problems are. We've already established what they are. It's time to start fixing. And until John Mara wants to start fixing them, there's not much we can do. Yeah, that's where it's at. And Pell Rider says, it's just getting repetitive at this point. We say the same things every week. Exactly. And I don't want to be that kind of podcast for you guys. I don't. So that's what I'm saying. We're 23 minutes in. Usually we go about an hour and a half on post-game shows. Let's get into any comments, any questions you guys have, and we'll do that. Because like I said, I don't want to keep repeating the same points we make every single week. They're obvious. You guys all know it. And quite frankly, most of y'all agree with us when we say these things. So I know we're the same mind, so I'm just preaching to the choir at that point. So like I said, let me go ahead and pay those bills real quick. I'll be right back. And like I said, we'll get into questions here. Any questions you have, pop them right into that chat.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. And of course, you can also support the show at by doing a super chat here on YouTube, or you can also support the show by doing sending stars on Facebook as well. Or if you want to do the free way as well, listen, we appreciate any support you can give us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, especially on YouTube. That's a big one for us right now. Go ahead and hit the share button. Tell a friend. Just send them a text message. Say, hey, listen, I found this show. I think you guys might like it. We definitely appreciate anybody who's going to show and give us a little bit of support there, because listen, we all work for free basically doing this stuff. Any content creators that you like, show them the love, because I'm telling you, this is what we all do because we enjoy it. No one's getting rich doing this. Trust me on that. Let's get into the rest of the comments here real quick. I'm just looking for something real quick here, so I make sure I have the exact right one here. I might have to count on him to do it for us real quick when I get to it. All right, let's see here. So let's see here. Deb says we don't have any QB. Yeah, we don't at this point. We have semblances of what could be a good QB, but guys who have, but Drew Lock's done something somewhere. I don't want to make it seem like he's like a nothing guy. That's what's so frustrating right now. Is you look at it and you go, why? Why is he failing? Why is why do we have such a drop on even Daniel Jones before he left? Because he looked like he was improving in 22, and all of a sudden 23. And that's why I'm saying I really think the big thing is I think Dable took over the play calling, and he effed it up. And just not even cut any corners and try to sugarcoat it. He effed it up because this defense was doing really good in 22. The offense was a semblance of an offense, with no weapons. Remember, Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins were our top receivers, basically, along with Darius Slayton, of course, because he's a constant. Like I said, I just feel like that's the problem. Is we can get a good QB, and he still probably won't succeed in this thing right now because it's just a shit show. It is what it is. Deb says we need a good veteran in addition to drafting a quarterback, and we're still talking about the O-line for 10 years? Yeah. Now, I do think once you get Illuminar back, you get Andrew Thomas back, this offensive line will be just fine as far as the starting wise. I think we need to get young guys in here that develop. We also look at the fact that Greg Van Roten is a free agent of the year. At this point, I'd be all for bringing him back for one more year. Like I said, drafting some mid-round guys to develop. I think Brasillo can do that. And assuming we keep him, whoever we have as coach next year, I hope they keep him. I like him. Newmar says we need to do something like the Jets owner. Did he set up a committee? He's letting the committee interview the general manager. So he's doing, I know Mike Tannenbaum and someone else, I got some kind of consulting firm that's doing the search. Obviously, I believe Woody Johnson would have the final say, though there's the issue right now. Woody Johnson may be no longer part of the team soon because he's rumored that he's going to be offered a position with the Trump administration like he had there a couple of years ago. So we'll see what happens there. But in the end, someone with the last name Johnson is going to make that decision. They'll just make their suggestion. So let's see here. Oh, we got that one already. And that's what I was looking up right there, guys. Patrick writes at yo. So for those who don't know, this man's also a content creator. Big Pat's Sport Talk. It's on YouTube. It's at Welcome to Big Pat Sports Talk is the URL there for you guys. So youtube.com/at Welcome to Big Pat Sport Talks. And like I said, really good content creator. We got to get you on the show, man, one day too. So let's see here. And then Deb says, you're right, Drew. Really not much saying. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'd love to have extra new topics for you guys. I'm at the point now where it's just, we got to wait for the season to be over. That's what we got to be. Wait for the season to be over. And in the meantime, we can look at ways we can change this thing around for starting next year. Ways we can improve things. And like I said, that's why I suggested today that it's time just to fire Dable. I don't know at this point what else we could do to give Dable another shot. He's had 3 quarterbacks this year all look bad. He had 3 quarterbacks last year. He had 3 quarterbacks the year before as well. So you had Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Davis Webb, then Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito, now Daniel Jones, and Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock. Each year he's been here, he's had 3 quarterbacks. None of them look great. We got a building process year with Daniel Jones in 22, but that's it. Tommy DeVito's a little bit of a spark plug. Let's be honest, a little bit of a spark plug is because of the fact that the Giants had just been so bad for so long. We take anything as spark plugs at that point. The big game was the Packers game. Obviously, that was the big win for him. DeVito had 158 yards in that game, guys. I wouldn't exactly call that an amazing game. It's just something's got to give. And to me, the consistent in this drop has been since Dable started taking over play calling. He took it over slowly last year, took it over completely this year. He's got to go. I don't think he has the people skills to be a head coach. And it shouldn't be a shocker. He's a Belichick guy. And, I talked about the Belichick as far as him being a guy to bring in for the front office. His coaches have not succeeded And that's why I say Vrabel. Because Vrabel is a guy who played under Belichick. He never coached with him. And he had success in Tennessee. The guys, if you look at the Romeo Cornells, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, those kind of guys, they just haven't flourished elsewhere. Joe Judge, that's another guy. Did not flourish. Dable seems to have a little bit of that in him. He's a little hard-headed. He's a little, I'm going to win, I'm going to be successful no matter what. And doesn't see the writing on the wall. He's not successful. Same as he wasn't successful as an OC in Miami. He wasn't as successful as an OC in Cleveland. He wasn't successful as an OC in Kansas City. He just happened to get a good quarterback in Buffalo that I want to say he did nothing with. He obviously helped develop him. But at the end, Josh Allen was a guy who's going to probably develop because he wanted to. For those who don't know the Josh Allen story, when he went to go to college, he never got any big offers. This was not a guy that could pick whatever school he wanted to go to. He went to a smaller school, went to Wyoming, because it's the one spot he can get onto. And he had to fight his way there even. This guy's got fight. Guys with fight are the scariest guys to ever play at a football field. That kind of drive you can't teach. You got it or you don't. And I think a lot of his success is his fight, his drive. And, Dable got a lot of credit for it. But I don't think it was him. I really don't. Because if that was him, we'd see more improvement out of the quarterbacks we have. We'd see a better running offense. And what else we'd see is a big drop in the Bills' offense since Dable left. Do you see that, guys? I mean, honestly, do you see a big drop off right now? The Bills are scoring 29.1 points per game right now. That's what they're scoring right now. 29.1. That's what they did last year. 29.1, same exact number. Year before was a slight difference because they increased by 2.6 points per game, it says here, so 26.5. Not a bad offense, guys. So think about that. The Bills have not missed a beat without him. Josh Allen has not missed a beat without him. I think it's time to drop the whole Brian Dable developed and made Josh Allen. Again, he was some of it. I'm not trying to take everything away from the guy. He was there. He was part of it. But when it boils down to, Josh Allen was the reason why. Because the kid has drive. Point blank. Has drive. And it's time to stop this BS of he made him. Because if he made Josh Allen, who'd he make in Miami? Who'd he make in Cleveland? Who'd he make in Kansas City? He's that good. And who'd he make now in New York? Like I said, he's not a quarterback whisperer. We bought into it. We all did, including myself, including Rob. We all bought into it because DJ had that really better first year. It was fool's gold. That's what it was. So, got to cut your losses. It's time to move on, guys. So, as Neymar says, I think it was more Ken Dorsey and Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady wasn't there at first. I think Joe Brady actually got there after Dable came here. I can double check that. But he was with the Panthers, I believe, if I remember right, because he was part of the came over from, was it LSU, I want to say? Yeah, okay. It came over from LSU. Okay, so he was the quarterback's coach there in 22. Okay. Yep. I forgot that was, I was thinking we have 1 year without him. So it was Ken Dorsey was there during Dable's time. Joe Brady came over to be the quarterback coach when Ken Dorsey became the offensive coordinator. And then obviously he's now the offensive coordinator the last, 2 years now at that point. Well, I guess a year and a half, I guess. But yeah, like I said, it's time to admit that it wasn't him. Spaz Out says, clean house all around. Get rid of veteran players too. Draft and get all young talent now. Stop signing and trading for big free agents. It's now time to just be a young team. Yes and no. You can't get all young players because you need some veteran leadership. Because in the end, it's kind of like, you ever had that job where you got the work dad there or the work mom there, somebody who's a little more seasoned at their position, and because of that, because they're good and they help out the young people, they have a lot of respect given to them by the young people. That's what this is like, and you saw that, on teams all the time that are rebuilding. They get a couple of veteran guys in there to sprinkle in to do that. And I have no problem with that. No problem with that whatsoever. I just want to see, a mostly young players. I don't want to see overpriced talent. Like, remember we got Jonathan Stewart for Saquon's rookie year. Like, that was stupidity. Overpaid him. That's not the kind of move I mean. But you get some role players that'll get the respect of the young players and kind of be almost like assistant coaches. Like, that's not a bad thing. But, we look at this team right now, and you got such an amazing draft class. Those guys should hopefully go ahead and develop next year as well. And those guys should be the guys who build around along with whoever we draft this year. Obviously, quarterback's the big one. We'll see what quarterback they get. Still a lot of time to go. Let's see on Tankathon where we even end up right now. But it's kind of unfair to a certain degree because we lost. Yeah, right now we are on a 7-game losing streak, and we are officially the number 1 overall pick. But again, we have the Raiders and the Jaguars both get to play. Now, they do play later on this year, though. So one of them is bound to win. So if we can lose out, that means that we're going to go ahead and get a number 1, number 2 pick automatically and get a quarterback. So again, I don't want to root for us to lose out, but there's definitely the benefit there. And as Spaz says, these young cats ain't trying to get leadership nowadays. I disagree with that. Dexter Lawrence gives leadership on that team. He's a little more of the smiley, joking kind of leadership. There's different types of leadership. But I think you see it. I mean, Jahad Ward was a classic example of a guy who was a veteran leadership at the team in 22. Spezza says they're trying to find their own way, especially for an organization like us. Yeah, I mean, if you don't give them leadership, they're going to do what they think is best. That's what it boils down to. So, all righty, guys. Well, that's going to call it a day. Rob is still stuck with his turkey leg here, but we'll see him tomorrow night. He'll be on again Friday here. We're going to do our our picks show there for the week. So all these Sunday games. So we'll talk about that one there. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and then start again next week normal. So Monday, the recap show. Wednesday, the preview show. Thursday, the picks show. And then, of course, Sunday, we'll have our potentially the play-by-play, but at the very least, the post-game show. If you haven't already, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. Tell a friend about the show. Much appreciated for that in advance. We'll be back again to see you guys tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and, of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. So that's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you haven't liked and subscribed there, please do. And also, please feel free to leave a review on the Apple podcast platform as well. That definitely helps there. Or give a star rating on Spotify. For some reason, Spotify hates us. Apple loves us. Spotify hates us. So especially on Spotify, I should say. Like I said, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow night. And I'm sure we'll have more stories, more debacles and fallout from this game here. This horrible loss as the Giants just lose, like I said, once again, 27-20. Appreciate you guys for watching as always. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please.